Well, hello and welcome to the DC United Kingdom podcast. This is season 2 and episode 24, but more importantly, it's the 50th episode that we've ever done. And I am glad to say I have got two guys who are down below me at the moment if you're watching on YouTube, but if you're listening, you'll hear them very shortly. It's Dave Johnson and Devon McTavish, legendary commentators. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And again, be careful, Deb, when they start throwing legendary around. That means we've been doing this too long. They're going to want to get rid of us. They start to say legendary. Doesn't that mean that, we should organize a retirement party? But thank you so much. And I can tell by a big smile, Devin, it's good to see you after what's at least 3 days since we've talked.
Well, we're on the 4-day schedule. So given the past 3 months, so the fact that I started to miss your face, Dave. Thanks for having us on. I've never heard my name, Devin, with legend in the sentence. So, it's all Dave. Dave is the legend. I am simply the clown who stands next to him.
No. Let's stop right there. That's not true. I mean, and this is what and as you know, as you found this out, James, as you've been a fan of DC United since Jaime Moreno. Thank you for sending him over from Middlesbrough, which was your club in England. But the beauty of everyone that's listening to us this afternoon, and Devin can certainly attest to it, is he so proudly wore the black and red jersey. It is a club that is about connection. It is about family. It is, and we still remember everything that Deb McTavish did, a player in whatever competition, and we were so proud of him, and I'm so proud to stand next to him because he is a terrific story from the great. You can Google it, Winchester, Virginia, to West Virginia University, to pro soccer. Again, as we all know, to be a professional athlete in whatever sport, that's a tremendous accomplishment. And Devin's been with me for the last 4 years, and it's just been a wonderful experience. But we stay connected as a club. I think about it today. John, our good friend, was named Coach of the Year in the USL, coaching Greenville. So no matter, players can stop playing, but they're still always a part of DC United. And as always, I've talked too much, and so just edit this part out of the conversation.
I think we're live. I think we're live.
We're live. It's fine.
I was afraid of that. So let me go back to James. I'm sorry. I've taken over the show. I apologize. But I want to. Devin is too modest, and he's a first class person and an individual, and he's got a terrific family, and believe me, it's a real joy to be with him in each and every game.
How do you follow that, Devin?
I don't. I can't. I mean, like he the quality person that Dave is. He takes ownership of a room right away, and it's not a testament to him like wanting the eyes on him. It's just the character that it's like his personality. Especially when it talks about DC United, like he is DC United. You hear, he's been with the club. That was his 25th season. So he's been the only broadcaster who has been there since day one. And you can hear the passion in his voice when he says it's in the net, but just literally conversation on the street talking about DC United, you hear the passion in his voice. So he's a remarkable human being. And I don't know if he knows, I grew up in the area outside of DC. So I was able to. We're totally taking over the show. I know we have
that's absolutely fine.
So, and I'm not trying to make Dave feel old because he started when he was like 12 years old doing the broadcast for DC United. So, and he still looks younger than I do. Somehow I have gray hair and he doesn't have wrinkles in his face and he doesn't have gray hair. But I was watching him when I was 12 years old when DC United launched, and so it's to be able to stand next to him over the course of the 90 minutes and. It's an honor, and I'm humbled to do it. And I've loved this club since 96. I was there in 97 when they lifted the MLS because it was 43 degrees and rainy, and I think I got pneumonia. But it was worth it because I got to be able to see DC United lift the cup in person, and hopefully it will come again. I hope to be there in person when it does come again. But Dave says all these things, and not just because he's putting on a show. He means them. His passion for the club is remarkable, and no one. I know there will be lots of people say they have more passion for the club, but I don't think they don't hold a candle to what Dave Johnson has done for the club in terms of support and passion.
No.
So. Except for you, James. Except for you.
No. I mean, Dave's just another league, isn't he? You are something else, Dave. You are absolutely awesome, and it's. I've been grateful for the fact that I've been able to watch the pre-game shows throughout since the MLS is Back tournament, and they're fantastic. And then obviously watching the games themselves, being able to tune in alongside everyone who's in America as well. It's been fantastic, and there's no better commentary than you guys. And I'm not saying that because you're on the show. I truly believe that there is no one better to commentate about DC United than people who are completely passionate about the club. And again, thank you for everything that you do during the games.
Well, and again, what the I don't know if I'm awesome or it's this community we have and these fans that are awesome, and again, what my passion comes from is the people, and that's why, boy, did we miss, and I know, Devin, having the fans in the stands this year, and because that's what it's all about. But it's been able to connect with so many of them. But this is a headline flash, but this world can be a tough place sometimes. Our personal lives can be a tough place sometimes. But the one thing, and I experienced this growing up when I was a fan of the NASL, and just how important it was the Washington Diplomats to me in my life to have those 2 hours where all you were worried about was whether Johan Cruyff would score a goal. And so the fact that we have Major League Soccer, and it's all the people that are listening to us and watching us and the supporters that have made Major League celebrate its 25th anniversary. This was not a given that pro soccer would work in the United States, but through our wonderful supporters groups from day one, that we had the energy that no other club and no other team had. And I always tell people, and I think you played in that game. Remember, Devin, in 2006, right after the World Cup, it was DC United played a friendly against Glasgow Celtic. You were in that game, right? You remember?
I was, yeah.
All
well, my last name is McTavish, so I took some pride.
Right. So all the Scottish reporters thought you were on the other team. There was a new Celtic, right? But he was really part of us. DC United. And believe it or not, there's a point to bringing up the story. This was a clearly arranged friendly with Glasgow Celtic. It was a rainy Wednesday night, and I'm thinking, I wonder how the crowd's going to be, whatever. And right away, the Scottish reporters who are on tour with Celtic were asking me pregame, what's the atmosphere going to be like? And I just confidently said, oh, no, believe me, they're going to bring it. They're going to bring it. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it's a rainy Wednesday night, and we just learned about this game 4 days ago. Well, instead, on this rainy Wednesday night, the Barra Brava, the Screaming Eagles, the District Alters, all of them, they brought it strong, and that's the one time in my life I felt like Brian Johnson, the lead singer of AC/DC, where I had a rock thundering behind me because I was able to say they're going to bring it, and they did bring it, and that was that game. We beat Glasgow Celtic that night in 2006, but that's what this club is all about. Yeah, it is also about M-ups and rainy nights and trophies, but it's also about little moments like that where the passion is still strong because we love this club. The fans love this club.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that you've seen throughout this year that we've missed is having fans, but we've seen some stadiums have it. I don't want to talk about for because obviously the pandemic and that's obviously ravaged the world at the moment. And we've seen it over here in the EPL that there's zero fans at the moment. Seeing some fans in stadiums in America, what's that been like for you guys? Because you've obviously got it firsthand. Obviously, Audi Field, there is no fans there. But has that had an influence on the games? Because I think the fact that there's no fans means that the away team tends to do it a little bit better.
David, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back of the games that DC played or they actually had, that where they were on the road and they had fans.
I don't think we did.
Atlanta, right? Just like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, Atlanta. You're right.
I think it was Atlanta. And the first two games of the year were obviously at home. So, over the course of you just watching other MLS games, I don't know how much of an impact they did have. I mean. Like Seattle or in Atlanta, there's more difficult atmospheres, right? Especially for like young players. Towards the end of the year, they were able. Seattle wasn't, but I know Atlanta was able to have some fans in the stands, and that's a massive stadium, and so it was really a drop in the bucket in terms of allowing people in. But I think the hard part, James, was the fact that United States is it's a big place, and these teams are traveling to the game. So if you're going down to Miami or I know that the team before Atlanta had actually gone down the night before, which was the only time they had done that throughout the year. So going up to New York, you're going the day of the game, and it just makes it more difficult. So the atmosphere may not be as difficult. I think even some players talked about how when DC United started to Griffin Yao was getting involved, Kevin Prades was getting involved, Nyman was getting involved early on. They talked about how the lack of atmosphere probably is beneficial to players because it's not nearly as intimidating. But regardless, it's still difficult to travel on the road in MLS, because especially this year, when you travel on the day of the game, so it just adds a different dimension to it.
Yeah, I think, again, that's a point that Ola Kamara made in one of our post games, that maybe it's helping the younger players that they're making their debuts. They're not doing it in front of an intimidating environment of 25,000 screaming people. And regardless, I think it's just been a difficult year for everybody. The traveling the day of the game, professional teams, athletes, and now Devin can speak to it. He's the athlete, not me. But the point is, you get into a rhythm and a routine, and all been disrupted. The traveling the day of the game. So as a road team, you're not going into a hostile environment, but you've also been up since 7 a.m. and traveling, and it's just been a difficult year, and you hope we can have a better year around the world and find a way to do certain things and also, keep people employed too. But that's a whole podcast, a whole nother topic.
So, as I said, obviously this pandemic has ravaged the world. That led to MLS doing the MLS's Back tournament down in Orlando. Now, obviously you guys weren't there, but how good was it to have soccer back after, I think it was 3 months, possibly 4 months out, and you guys getting back to commentating? Was that something that was really a good thing for you guys?
I think it was a good thing, whether it was soccer or whatever it was. It was important to try to find a way to do things, and not because we were bored watching Peaky Blinders on Netflix or God knows what. In all seriousness, and I remember Mike Veck, who was the son of a legendary baseball owner, who actually is a baseball owner himself of some minor league teams, like the famous teams, the St. Paul Saints. And I say famous because they're known for their marketing and their innovation. And he made the comment to me back in July that COVID is serious. It's not going away. But having said that, we have to find a way to try to do things. And that includes sporting events. And we do have the technology and the ability to organize and navigate and choreograph, so people are still spaced out. And again, it's up to everyone's comfort level. So I think the fact that us and other sports, for that matter, were committed to saying, all right, let's figure out a way to do this. It was important. And the MLS initially took the MLS's Back tournament as, if you want to call it a safety step, because it was a more controlled environment. Teams were not traveling. That was important. So yeah, it was great to have competition back, but it was also just great to say, what, we've got a serious thing going on here. Let's find a way that we can still do what we do. And I say we, I mean Major League Soccer is we're a soccer league. We're an entertainment value, and let's as a world, we need as humans, we need sources of joy and entertainment, and I think that was an important thing for MLS to do.
And Devin,
yeah, and it was. I was just gonna say that. I mean, we didn't get to broadcast the games, so we did the pregame shows, and so it was just a bit of normalcy in what was an upside down world, and still is an upside down world. This part, so I think it was in reflecting on, I think it was a good move for MLS, and just obviously that was the only option, was to kind of create a bubble and then go from there. And the other perk was that we had 9 a.m. games, so you wake up and have a cup of coffee, and it's like World Cup when they're based in Europe. So the tournament didn't go the way DC United was really hoping for, obviously, but it was a bit of normalcy in what was, and it still is a difficult time.
I know.
Plus, Steve started returning my phone calls when we started to have games again. I've been trying to reach out to him 3 months, and no, I'm just kidding. Dave, my phone call. I could call him at 11 o'clock tonight.
No, the game
And,
times during that tournament were obviously all out of whack, as you rightly said, 9 a.m., which is fantastic for me because a 2 p.m. kickoff was brilliant.
Yeah.
I could actually watch it for once without being tired. But the fact that there was the 10:30 game as well, that must have been rough for the players to get into that, because it was rough for me getting up at that time in the morning to watch a game.
Yeah, I think if you go back and ask the players, putting myself in their shoes, I think they probably would prefer the 10:30 game. I think 9 a.m. in Florida, in Orlando, in July, it's hot.
Yeah,
it's hot. It's humid. It's the surface is wet from watering it, so the heat is coming up through your boots. So you can kind of like balance your body a little bit in terms of taking a nap. 10:30 kickoff, not easy, obviously. But I think they probably prefer the 10:30 over the 9 a.m. I mean, I was just 9 a.m. because we would every day, obviously, around that time. And so in the District of Columbia, it gets pretty hot August and July. So it's not too far off from what Orlando is like. So it'd be miserable at times. So I think the later games had a little more energy to them. But yeah, it was. I mean, the whole bubble was difficult, for them. I mean, going away from their families for that long, and the uncertainty of it, really, players getting tested all the time, and so it's really a daunting year for everyone, and so.
But I don't think the league gets enough credit for the fact that there were 51 games played in 45 days, and not one positive COVID-19 test once they got going with the tournament. So it's really they should take a bow, because they did everything they could to make it a safe environment for the players, and they did. There was not one players or referees, for that matter, and credit to the referees who also had to sacrifice their time, and it was just, when we look back on it, we hope we never have to go through something like this again. But I think it should be a moment of pride that Major League Soccer was able to pull that off, because I don't think there was a game plan of what happens if a pandemic happens. There's no book they could go to and say, all right, let's get out the operations manual for putting together a tournament in Orlando in the middle of the summer, in the middle of a pandemic. There's no blueprint for that. So I cannot say enough about how well the league did in terms of pulling that off.
There's a lot of controversy around the whole tournament. I remember people, this is like the complete wrong thing to do. Everyone in the same place. If someone gets it, it's going to spread like wildfire. But as you rightly said, no positive tests. Credit due that right there to Major League Soccer for pulling that off. I think from what I've heard from players and Claudia as well, when I've spoken to her recently, everything was done in the right manner. And I dread to think how many players, staff, referees that they had to cater for and to look after throughout that whole entire tournament. It's on another level, and fair play to Major League Soccer for that.
Yeah, and that's and the reality is COVID obviously still exists, and so if we're in the comfort of our own homes, Devin's in the comfort of his palatial 6-room office there that he's talking to us from, but the point being, and I don't say this lightly, it's out there, and it's not saying, well, I'm not going to go after you if you go to the grocery store. I think we're all still eating, we're all still going to the grocery store, we're all still filling our cars up. I mean, the reality is, you could be in a group of 12 people, socially distanced, not socially distanced, or whatever, and might not get it, and you could be somewhere else and get it. So yes, you do have to, it's like anything in life, you have to be smart about what you do and don't do, and what your comfort level is. But I think the reality is there's still, we had a season go on, we had players then test positive. And there's going to be other players that test positive happening in the NFL right now. But it's a reality of the world we live in. You just do the best you can to avoid the risk at all costs. But nobody is totally locked down. We're all still living. As I was on the road today, if people are out and about and they're doing things because they need to. They need to get food. They need to get whatever. So it's a challenge.
It really is. And I don't know exactly what the situation is over there for you guys in terms of lockdowns or what you can and can't do right now. But I know over here in England, we're in lockdown again, which is really, really frustrating. But the fact is, we've just got to do what we've got to do to try and get through this. There's the vaccine that's recently been announced that's 90% effective. There's light at the end of the tunnel, so hopefully we can get to a stage where we can have fans back in the stadium. We can get to some sort of normalcy again.
So that's what we're hoping for.
Yep. So that tournament for us, as Devin said earlier, wasn't exactly the best tournament ever. 2 points from a total of 9. And I know we've had the head coach change. Obviously, Ben unfortunately left. Was this the start of the demise for him?
The tournament? Or
before the tournament,
the season.
We were okay. We obviously beat Inter Miami. We got beat by Colorado. But the tournament, the performance in terms of the whole points, I think the expectation was for us to actually get at least 3, maybe 4 points and progress from the group stage.
Yeah, I think the challenge is, and this is, Ben Olsen for, looking at just how long he had success and won a trophy with the club, the U.S. Open Cup trophy, but also, guiding the team into multiple, 4 out of the last 5 years into the playoffs and that type of thing. Major League Soccer is such a competitive league. You can't go in to a season, like in England, you can go into a English Premier League season, you can probably about 6 clubs and say, all right, well, those are going to be the top 6. That's at least that's the cliche anyway. So it's more like the championship. I'm not talking about the level of play. I'm just talking about in terms of the level of competition. I always throw out, in 2010 we had Dallas and Colorado in an MLS Cup final. So what that means is you can't always tell who's going to be the going in, and it's such a I don't know if it's longer than any other season. I think because we start when it's freezing cold and we end when it's cold, and in between we lose 30 pounds sweating in the heat of the summer. So we have so many things we have to go through. But what I'm saying is that because you're in such a uber competitive environment, if certain things go wrong with your team, and that's what happened. Look, DC United, we kept had trouble keeping up with the number of starters that were out, and this continued right actually to the last weeks of the season. But a good portion of that period where the team really struggled, we were talking about 6 regulars, out of the lineup, and it's no secret DC United is not one of the deeper lineups this year. The fact that we were playing 16 and 17 year olds, and they prove they're ready to play. But having said that, the fact that you're in a situation where you don't have a bench full of veterans, you're gonna have some challenges. It always reminds me of we had made the playoffs in 2012. That was the amazing the slogan. Why am I drawing a blank here?
Can't hold me back.
It can't hold me back. It's because you have belief.
Film the tattoo.
I was just saying, why do I forget that? But that was you can't hold me back in 2012, and you've got that believe slogan behind you. It's throwing me off, Devin. But so you go into 2013 with lots of optimism. I still remember Ben Olsen telling me at the time. He said, "Well, we're not too deep, and we don't have a lot of depth. We're going to be okay." But if we get hit with a lot of injuries, it could be tough. Well, did get hit with a lot of injuries and ended up with the 3-win season that, ironically had the U.S. Open Cup. So, I just think that you just have to look at Ben Olsen's period of time with a lot of success. He knows it. Every coach knows it, that, after you're hired, you're one step closer to the day your run probably ends as head coach. You typically don't last 25 years or whatever as a head coach, no matter how good or bad you are. So, he did a tremendous job. I think it would have been nice given all what Devin was just talking about, the pandemic and everything, we're the stop and start, and we're trying to integrate a new designated player in Edison Flores into the lineup, and we can't really get him going because we're stopping and starting. It would have been nice to get out of this season having to make a coaching change, but unfortunately, they kept scheduling games, and we weren't getting any healthier, and we were trying to figure it out, and it led to a coaching change. So I don't think that the tournament, was a sign of it would have been nice to get out of that group stage, but I think if anything that amplified that, we really did miss Paul Arriola a lot, and Edison Flores not fully healthy. We needed some things to go right for us that didn't. But all we can take is how this club finished the last month, and know that spirit's back. And there's every team in MLS is going to have to work hard in the off season, because this is just such a competitive league. It just everyone, and you don't live in a vacuum. You're trying to find the best players around the world, and we've done a great job with I think about picking out Russell Canals from a third division team in Germany, or you can go right down the list. We've got some good parts there, and we almost made the playoffs.
It was just a crazy last day. Let's put it that way. I mean, I just could not believe the highs and the lows of that decision day. It was something I was really looking forward to. As you rightly said, the spirit was there. The form was good. It was nice to see that we were scoring quite a few goals, and we scored 2. It was just a shame that Montreal scored more. But the good thing from that game was that Paul came back, and that was a great moment. And for you guys, what was that like to see Paul? Obviously, you were there at the game, so what was that like?
It's when we had heard Dave, what was it, maybe like a month before, there was a chance if they were in contention for the playoffs that he could probably some minutes in the last 2 matches or so. And so, my initial reaction was, why, right? but at this point, you were a month out, and they hadn't won 3 games in a row, and the form was off. And so, and then you start winning some games, and, conversations about maybe Paul's going to come back. And I think Dave and I talked about before the game on Sunday, it's just his leadership. I mean, he's a young player, obviously, but he's got so much experience, and he wears a smile on his face every time he walks into the room, and he's just a breath of fresh air in what was a difficult season. So that lift that he provided to the team, I think you saw it in the first 15 minutes, right? They came out against Montreal and they were absolutely flying. And then to get to your question, to see him come out on the field. I mean, I've been a player. Fortunately, I think I didn't tear my ACL, so I don't understand the full rehab and the amount of work that goes back into that. But I did have knee injuries and I had some knee surgeries, and for him to come back from having surgery in February, to be able to play in a meaningful game like that, where everyone's going 110 miles an hour. I mean, he nearly got his leg broken by Piet there with that red card challenge on him. And he hobbled off of it, and then he kept playing. And so for him, to come back from in that short amount of time, and I think it says a lot about his character to get back, and 2 to be I'm willing to play 30 minutes. That means we have a chance to get in the playoffs. I mean, that indicates how committed he is, as a professional to this club. So, short of shedding a tear, it was a moment that, I think everyone watching, everyone at the club, was extremely proud of Paul for getting to that point.
It was a heart of a lion moment, which to tie it in with Ben Olsen. I mean, that was why Ben is so beloved as a player. He gave everything to this club, and that's, I think, I don't want people to misunderstand. I recognize that this was not a good season for DC United. I recognize that it was only because they allowed more teams in the playoffs that we were still in the conversation on decision day. I recognize all that. Having said that, and Devin has been through this as a player and feels it as a club. I think, and that's why, supporters, you appreciate the supporters that really stick with you through the thick and thin, to use that cliche of the bad times, because these players are giving their all. okay, you can say, well, I don't know about on that player or this player, or they didn't have the best of games. Well, that happens to all of us. I don't have the best of broadcasts. Believe me, there's fans that can list all my bad broadcasts. There's probably an internet website out there that can list that. But the point being is they care. They want to make it. And Paul Arriola, what does he have to come back for? Last game of the season, we're not even sure we're going to make the. Well, he worked his, tail off to get to that point. He could have easily said, well, we got this pandemic going on and this and that. Let me just take this rehab. No, he wanted to come back because he, cared about this club and this team, and it means that much to him. So if you're a fan, you have to be energized. You know what? This club means a lot to me. I give my blood, sweat, and beer to this club, and I've got players that are responding in kind. So I think that's why we love it so much when players like a Paul Arriola said, I'm gonna get back on that field and I'm gonna do whatever. And he tried, as we saw, and boy, would have been a Hollywood script if he had scored and he had his chances. So it was a feel good moment, but it also speaks to as difficult as this year was overall, and you could read into that one. Everything is still difficult about this year. But the point being is the spirit had to be strong for a player to want to come back because he cares about the shirt he's wearing.
Yeah, and I was just envisioning, during the broadcast, the amount of people that were standing up at home applauding Paul for getting back. It would have been, 20,000 strong standing up, supporting him in his, as he was trotting out on the field. But, dude hit the weight room too in the off season. Goodness me, man. Oh, you see that jersey was a little tighter than it was when he left last year. But, that's just a testament to, even if he couldn't run, he was doing whatever he could to, make himself better as a player.
Well, he had a lot of time to work on that upper
great
strength.
Great for him in 2021. Right? Yeah.
But honestly, I'm seeing the reaction over on Twitter and all the social media about his comeback was just phenomenal. And I know the guys at the club, they'd done a fantastic video showing his comeback and his rehab and all the work that he'd done. And that was one of the best pieces of work I've seen the club do for such a long time. I think it was 15, 20 minutes long and well worth watching. So if you haven't seen it, get on the website and go and check it out because it'll be a great watch. It's moving. It's great to see what actually happens during the rehab as well. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. Going on that, moving on, what's been the highlight of your guys' seasons? I know obviously there's been quite a few low points with the whole thing that's happened, but what's been the best part of the season so far?
Yeah, there were actually some high marks, but whenever I get asked a question like that, I always think, just go with what first pops in your mind. And Griffin Yao scoring against Toronto was not to single out a young player because all our young guys, all our teenagers, if you will, did so well. And believe me, Donovan Pines, the scoring his first goal, and that was a big deal. But for some reason, that Griffin Yao goal just sticks out as a big highlight. Because when we're talking about still having a chance on decision day, while we didn't win against Toronto, we got the point, and you needed every point and fraction of a point to be in that position. So, for me, that stands out as just a moment of joy given the circumstances, the opponent, again, you could probably the Donovan Pines, his first goal also certainly stands out. But I'll start with the Griffin Yao moment. But to be a part of a young player's first is special for me.
Yeah, I think just looking back on the season, there was growing up in the DC area and knowing the level of talent around here. Obviously, we've had, the club's had success with some homegrown signings. Obviously, Bill Hamid, Andy Nahar. A couple just popped to mind. But, I'm trying to remember the game. I want to say it was Nashville or something. You had Adui Achim, you had Pines, you had Griffin Yao, you had Kevin Paredes, and you had Nineman all on the field at some point. And so that's kind of, it's interesting. There's two thoughts in the league, right? We'll go out money on some big time players, and there's some clubs that go ahead and do that. And there's the other thought of let's kind of spend a little more strategically in terms of, developing talent in our area, and then, fill in pieces with opening our wallet a little bit. And so you look at Philadelphia, had the success they had this year, and they've got fantastic homegrown players that are, moving on to Europe or potentially here in the next couple months. So, and I'm not indicating I have no idea what's going to happen with the homegrown players on DC United's roster, but there has to be a balance anymore in MLS unless, you're going to go out and you're going to have, $13 million transfer fees, which not too many clubs are going to do. Then you've got to be able to, cultivate some talent within your region. And so I think that's kind of what excites me about the 2020 campaign was just the level of talent that these youngsters came in. And they were contributing. And it's a unique situation too, where if games weren't played every 4 days, maybe they wouldn't be getting the minutes, but they did get the minutes. And those are important minutes, whether they're 10 minutes, whether they're, 1,600 minutes. Those are important minutes for them to continue to develop. And they showed their worth. I think every player, you look at Nyman, just turned 17, right, Dave? Just turned 17. And he's like a 26-year-old in terms of center midfielder, in terms of decision making, his technique and ability on the ball, and so his composure too. It's so I think the future is bright in terms of players, and with that too, you have a hungry, talented roster that I don't think anyone's going to argue they need some additional pieces. Every club needs additional pieces, but there's certainly a foundation there that was shown over the past 6-7 matches this 2020 campaign that is at least, in my opinion, something to be excited about.
Yeah, and there's in the moment, as we talked about, not too big for him. Whether it's Moses Nyman starting where he started this past Sunday, or again, but we've focus on the teenagers, but then it's not like Donovan Pines and Chris Adui-Achim are running around with gray hair. So and what a story Chris Adui-Achim coming back from the cancer battle he had. So there's so many young bright spots that you can't wait to see what happens next. And we forget the development of a Chris Durkin who is playing right now in Belgium. I mean, we're producing young, exciting players, and that's a good thing not only for Major League Soccer, but if we're going to continue to grow as a country, this can no longer, as we didn't make 2018, but this is a country that should win World Cup. Well, it's not going to just happen because we're the best marketing company or whatever. It's going to happen because of good player development, and we certainly are seeing that at DC United.
And you're right on that aspect of the fact that we've got some great youngsters, and I love Pines this season. He's been absolutely phenomenal. The fact that he's got 3 goals, he was second top scorer for us this season, I think it was. He's just been awesome. The moment of the season for me was the 98th minute by Eric Sorga against New York Red Bulls. That was something else. I remember just thinking, I think it was 6 minutes of added time that was on the board, and then you get to the corner and you're thinking, come on, this is the last chance, we've got to do it. And then he pops up and does that, and then it's just absolute scenes, and loving life with that. And then known as the Estonian Messi.
Yeah, no, that was a moment where you said, well, boy, I wish there were some fans in the stands, because that Red Bull Arena would have gotten awfully quiet. That would have certainly added to the moment. But again, that's the beauty of it, is that we're not going to look back on this season and say, wow, that was a terrific season. We didn't make the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. But man, we were given some moments and some players, and that's what we live on.
I mean, I know I just kind of covered the 2020 campaign, but moments too. Pipa Higuain coming in and sparking a comeback against Toronto when they were down a man, and the chip that he had. Goodness me. And then I think Chris Adui-Achim's goal too. Just everything that he'd been through, for him to not only just obviously recover from that and be able to play professional soccer again, and then to he had a fantastic year till it was kind of derailed by that concussion at the end of the season. But for him to get on the score sheet was was a special moment.
Yeah, and that, I think everyone was very emotional after that goal went in. It was just, after knowing what he's been through and how hard he's worked to get to where he is now, I think that top trumps every moment, I think. But let's leave that on a high then, shall we? Let's come towards the end of the show, but I'm going to go to a break because I've got a couple of things that I want to announce before we actually wrap up the show. So we're going to head into a break, going to announce the details of a giveaway. So be right back after this.
Hi James, yes, it's Henry here from the MLS UK show, and first of all, congratulations mate, 50 episodes, well done, everyone as good as the last, and I'm sure the next 50 will be even better. On the MLS UK show, we're stuck on 80 episodes, that's because we can't see each other in the studio because of the UK lockdown rules. Hopefully we'll be able to do something very soon, but in the meantime, if you want to watch any of our episodes we've done over the last few seasons, feel free. Just search MLS UK show for your podcast provider. Give us a rating, subscribe while you're there. And also, you can go to youtube.com/MLS UK show. Again, subscribe, put the notifications on, and you can watch all the episodes from this season, including when we spoke to DC United Kingdom's James Graham. Speaking of which, back to you, James.
Well, I just realised that you might not have heard what I was saying there. So I was supposed to be introducing Henry there and telling you that I was about to announce the giveaway right now. So it's a bit weird being on my own. Once again, I want to thank Dave and Devon for taking the time out to come on the show. I know there's international friendlies on, so I know if you're not watching live, that's fine. That's not a problem. If you're listening back, thank you. So this giveaway, I've been wanting to do something like this for a little while, but I thought, why not do it on a nice special episode like the 50th? So, what do you need to do? It's available to anyone. Anyone can enter. That is absolutely fine. Family, I'm sorry, you can't enter. Legal reasons, you're not allowed. But what you need to do is take a screenshot or take a photo of you watching this episode. Screenshot, a photo of your phone watching it, listening it, whatever. As long as I can see you listening or watching to the episode, that's what matters. I need you to enter in. Send that in to dcunitedukfans@gmail.com. That is dcunitedukfans@gmail.com. Now you're wondering what you can win. What you can win is a DC United Kingdom t-shirt. That is up for grabs. Absolutely fantastic. I will be sending that out to you. The closing date is the 30th of November at 12 p.m. UK time. Obviously, I'll be sending out reminders over on social, so keep an eye out for that. That's about it. So, thank you to Dave Johnson. I'm sorry, Dave, for getting your name wrong there. But thank you to Dave. Thank you to Devon for taking the time out to come onto the show. Thank you to you guys for listening in. If you've been here from the day dot, thank you. I can't believe it. If you're new to the show, welcome. Just remember to hit that subscribe button. Like the video. If you're listening to this on your podcast, if you're on Apple Podcasts, drop a little rating. And if you want to, give us a little review. Let other people know what you think about the show, especially if it's a nice thing. It's been awesome to do these shows for the last 50 episodes. I hope to do it for another 50 episodes. Thank you to the club for everything that they've done for me. The Support Content Creator Network, that's great that we've got that up and running. The fact that I've had Dave Johnson on, Devon on, the fact that we've had Claudia, we've had Donovan Pines, we've had Chris Aduiachsam, we've had Russell Canals, Julian Gressel, Ben Olsen. The fact that he took the time out to come onto the show, this little old show in the UK, was unbelievable. I am thankful and humbled every single day for doing this show. It's still beyond my wildest dreams for doing this. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening. This is all for you. I appreciate you guys watching and listening. So, without getting too emotional, because I'm Northern, we don't do emotions. I shouldn't say that now. Everything is good. Yeah, thank you for tuning in again. Thank you for listening again. And until next time, because there will be 1 or 2 more episodes for this season, this year. Until next time, Vamos United.